Hello and welcome back here. In this video I'm going to talk about the error that you might encounter while converting your disk from MBR to GPT using MBR to GPT command line utility, and the error says cannot find OS partition for disk 0. Now there could be multiple reasons. I'll be talking about those different reasons and then I'll be creating that environment and then I'll show you the fix, how to fix that. So let's switch on to disk management by right clicking the start button and moving on to disk management. So what happens when you are converting your disk from MBR to GPT is that it scans the boot configuration database that is sitting in the active partition. So in my case, this is the active partition, and this active partition contains a file called BCD, and that is the boot configuration database. And in case of moving to UEFI partition style, you need to have an EFI partition, and that EFI partition also need to have an BCD file. So that process of converting MBR to GPT scans all the entries in that boot configuration database, and in case it finds any entry that is pointing to a boot partition that is not in the same disk, or it is pointing to a recovery partition that doesn't exist, is gonna give you error. So in case if you have dual boot operating system where one operating system is sitting in the first hard disk and the second operating system is sitting in the second hard disk, in that case it will also fail. And in case if you have the recovery partition that has been deleted, the possible reasons for that could be that maybe you have one hard disk and you upgrade it to new hard disk and you cloned only the active partition and the boot partition, but you didn't clone the recovery partition. So you have that entry over here, but you don't have that partition in the new hard disk. So in case if you have the dual boot operating system, you need to delete the entries for the secondary operating system. So I don't have secondary operating system, but in case if you have a operating system sitting in the second partition, you need to go to start menu and you can search for msconfig or search for system configuration, and that will bring you over here. You can go on to boot, and here you will find multiple entries. So currently I have only one, and that is the default. In case if you have multiple, you need to delete the second entry. So select the second entry, click on delete button and select the first option and then set it as default, so that way you have only one entry. In case if you have dual boot operating system and both the boot partitions are sitting on the same hard disk, there is no issue with that. So that was the first solution. Second solution is in case if you have the recovery partition that has been deleted. So as of now, this is a fresh installation and there is no issue in that. I will be recreating that error by deleting this partition, and then I will show you how to fix that. So I will be opening the command prompt because this disk management tool doesn't allow me to delete this partition. So click the start button, type in CMD and open as administrator. So over here what I'll be doing is I'll be running the command utility called as disk part, and this disk part can be used for deleting that partition. So if I say list disk, okay, so if I do list disk, it's gonna show the list of disks. So if I say cell disk 0, and now my first disk is selected. Now if I do list partition, it's gonna show me the list of partitions, and the partition I'm interested in deleting is the recovery partition. Now some of the operating systems, like before 1803 release of Windows 10, they have only one partition over here, 500 megabytes, that is the recovery partition, and that is the system partition also. But in my case it is a separate recovery partition. So I'll be selecting that. So select partition 3, and that partition got selected. Now I will be deleting that partition, so I can say del partition, and because this is delete, it is a recovery partition, it will not allow me to delete. I need to force it. So del partition override, and that partition successfully got deleted. And if I go back here, you can see that got deleted. So in your case, if you have deleted it or even if you have formatted it, it's going to give you error. So I'll get out of here and clean it. Now if I try to run the BCD edit, you're gonna see that it is showing that still recovery is enabled, and this is the recovery sequence, but that partition has been deleted. So if I do BCD edit slash enum all, you're gonna see an entry over here that says, you can see this is the identifier of that boot configuration entry, and you see that says unknown. That means it doesn't exist anymore. So on that partition there was a folder called recovery. Inside there was a folder called Windows RE, and there was a Vim file, winre.vim, that is basically used for repairing or recovering your PC. So at this point of time, if I try to convert my disk from MBR to GPT by running MBR2GPT / let's validate, and because I'm running while the operating system is running, I'm not booted in from the installation media, so I say / allow full OS, and that's trying to convert, and it fails, cannot find OS partition for disk 0. So the actual operating system is there, but the second entry, the recovery partition entry, is missing. So what we can do over here is that two options are there. If you don't want recovery environment, you have recovery disk ready with you, you can delete that entry from the boot configuration database. And in case if you want to fix your recovery environment, you need to get the recovery file, because that partition is deleted and we don't have recovery environment. So I already created a video how to fix this error. Check out my channel where I have shown you how to create or how to enable the recovery environment. So one option could be to get the recovery file, that Vim file is to copy from some other operating system, or you can copy from the Windows installation media. If you are not interested, you can delete that boot configuration entry. So first of all, I'll show you that the details about this error. So if you go to C drive, Windows, and if I sort these files in descending order of time, you're gonna see we have setup error that shows the error. So you can see that cannot get the volume name recovery boot entry. So it's giving you clear error that what is the error. And if you want to go into details, you can open this file, setup act.log, and then if you scroll down over here at the bottom, is going to show you that it is scanning all the entries in the boot configuration database, and the OS partition is okay, but it is not able to find the recovery partition over here. So to fix this, what we can do is you can go to some operating system. Suppose you go to some other operating system. Normally that entry file is sitting in the recovery partition, but if you want to get it back to the staging area, so see Windows System 32 recovery. If I switch on hidden files, show hidden files and don't hide operating system protected files, you're gonna see there is no recovery file here. But if I disable that recovery agent by saying reagent C / disable, it's gonna move it from the recovery partition to this area. Now you can copy this file to your machine where you have that error and re-enable the recovery. Re-enable. So you can copy that and paste it in your machine where you are converting to GPT, going on to C drive, Windows, and over here you need to go to System 32 recovery, and then you need to paste that Vim file over here, and then you try to run reagent C / enable, and then recovery partition will get created. Recovery partition will not get created, but recovery entry will get fixed. So this is the way. In case you are not interested in that recovery partition, recovery entry, and you want to delete that, so you can delete from the BCD edit. So BCD edit, if you simply run, and you can get the GUID of that recovery. So you can see that for Windows 10 that is sitting in C drive, the recovery sequence ID is this. You can simply select that. You can select it, and you can right click or control C to copy it, and then you say BCD edit space / delete, and control V or simply right click is gonna paste that. So enter, and operation completed successfully. So this is how we have successfully deleted that entry. So if I do BCD edit / enum all, now you can see that entry is no more here. So that's how we can fix this error. Now if I again to try to convert Windows using MBR2GPT, MBR2GPT / convert space / allow full OS, and now you can see it has created one more partition, the UEFI partitions, and creating the boot configuration files in there. And you can see that it has successfully created the UEFI partition. And don't worry about this error, I have already created the video about this thing. So that's how you have UEFI partition that contains the boot configuration database. And if you don't, you actually don't need this anymore, because that is used in MBR partition styles. So if you want to recover this 50 MB or 500 megabytes of space, you can delete and expand this partition. So that's how we can fix the error cannot find OS for disk 0. So hope you like this video. If you have any other questions or comments, please post in the comment section below, and don't forget to subscribe. See you in the next video.